We had a task force commissioned by President Erickson at the time, 35 faculty, staff from Oliver, University Park, Hershey, Dickinson. We talked about what is it that we could do that would contribute to our understanding and prevention and treatment for child abuse.
Well, this network at Penn State is a game changer for the field. It will provide a critical mass of professors and everything that will come along with that.
Early life adversity and sexual abuse, in particular childhood sexual abuse, it's a kind of a prototype for how we can understand lots of other problems. So that's very exciting that there is a vehicle emerging. I don't think it's going to be a simple solution, even with a network, but I think the network is definitely a really important thing in that regard.
It will just be a center that will have so many ripple effects on so many levels that will really make a difference for what happens in this research field. They could do fabulous things for the state of Pennsylvania and far beyond.
We're doing a large study, the first real observational study of kids' internet use. In today's world, one of the changing venues for sexual abuse and sexual assault and sexual exploitation is the internet. I have 450 kids. They all have their own laptop. We record everything they do. So I have a team of undergraduates here at Penn State who are looking at all of their social networking profiles, their publicly available profiles, and coding it. So we'll be able to link provocativeness of their profiles to what other kinds of internet activities they're doing. I bring them into the lab and we talk. You know, have you ever met anyone offline? What was it like? What happened? So part of what I'm studying is, with sexually abused girls, do they do all of these things differently than kids who are not abused? So we'll be able to say something powerful about that for the first time.
My work is really at the intersection between psychology and molecular biology. I started to focus my research on kind of a new biomarker of stress. This is the telomere length, biomarker of cellular aging. This is how I came to Penn State and to the network, also because my research really focused on the effect of early life stress, trying to look for mechanisms at the biological level. This is kind of the new generation of scientists who's doing this interdisciplinary approach.
My colleagues that are interested in midlife reversibility are very much interested in what can we do when someone finally comes forward after years and years of suffering. Is it too late?
The early life experience is really crucial with respect to later life health, and I think that focusing on adolescence is also important because that may be one of the last life periods where we have really good opportunities for interventions because there's still more plasticities.
Understanding how we can reverse these effects in terms of teaching people stress management. So what are the processes by which we can teach people to work behaviorally in their own coping? That will be things that we can translate largely for people who are treating, say, adults who come in who say, I was abused as a child, or people who are having just a very difficult time dealing with daily stressors or stress in their life or ruminating a lot. What is it that we can do to help them cope better and move forward in a more healthy way that doesn't contribute to further damage?
So this is an impressive CT scan.
Yeah, it's a really scary CT scan.
This is really impressive. I mean, that is a large amount of blood in his head.
that could have easily have been a fatal injury.
He's lucky.
He's really lucky. They sort of painted a picture in their written descriptions of retinal hemorrhages that we would equate with high suspicion for violent head trauma, for severe head trauma and abuse. So that created a whole new dilemma in my mind. It made me question, well, why was I so convinced that the child might indeed have suffered his trauma from a minor fall? Well, I'm working on research to develop a screening test for abusive head trauma, and the screening test would have recommended an abuse workup on this child and would have estimated the probability that he had been abused at about 60%. It was a great lesson for me that, hey, trust my own screening test. It'll keep me from making mistakes. The decision to pursue this research path was triggered by a Sentinel case years ago that I never forgot. A child was misinterpreted as having experienced accidental head trauma and subsequently saw 7 professionals and was never diagnosed with his abuse until my boss did so. I remember she came in and she had his thick chart in her hand and she kind of slammed it down on a table. We missed over and over that he was abused.
How do we engage the community, both survivors and those who are advocating for survivors?
People in this room need to be communicating, because otherwise it'll all be filtered through ambassadors that may not represent the best of our science out there that will speak for us. So I think it's important that we take on that task of communication with our participants, with our state legislatures, with the press, etc.
The whole idea is exactly what you all are talking about, to very intelligently and strategically communicate the science very carefully to public and private sectors to try to make use out of what we do know and what has been replicated.
Science, in the end, is about storytelling. We're going to need everybody in order to make the changes to solve this kind of problem.
This is why we brought basic scientists together who work at the molecular level, together with scientists who understand the human processes of resilience and the possibilities for reversing the damage of stress, trauma, and maltreatment.
I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I am going to the Transforming the Lives of Children clinic so that we can provide behavioral health services to families who have experienced an instance of child maltreatment.
A 13-year-old girl who came to intake with her mom, it came out that she had consensual sex with a man who was 40 years old.
Is she able to articulate knowledge about why people are concerned about this?
She didn't understand the legal ramifications when it happened. She also said that she didn't know how old he was. Now she understands at least some of, I think she understands the fact of it, that there is a law and that that's in place and why it's being called statutory rape.
And why people would have a concern for her.
And why people might have a concern for her.
This clinic was established in October of 2014. We were specifically established for the purpose of providing evidence-based treatment to maltreated kids in the Harrisburg and surrounding area, providing a research collection point for different network members, serving an educational function, and hopefully being a leader in Pennsylvania in the education and training of other clinicians throughout the state in these same interventions. And you get that uptick in the child's behaviors when the mom starts ignoring, and the child's behaviors then get a little worse for that first period.
The sheer presence of that many faculty is very unusual. Just within Penn State, there will be this powerful engine for new ideas.
Where can we take this in ways that are going to implore policy to invest in prevention, or else it's going to cost us public health dollars later down the road when these people have medical comorbidities that are tied to chronic stress that we can tie directly to their experience of childhood abuse.
Storytelling becomes a good way of relaying that information to the public and to policymakers in ways that makes it easier for them to remember and grasp, and then hopefully understand the importance of those issues.
I had the opportunity to move to Washington, D.C. to work at the National Institutes of Health on a study of sexually abused girls. They wanted to understand the developmental processes, the developmental trajectories of girls who experienced sexual abuse.
I have known Jenny for some time, and she invited me to look at a very special data set that they have. It's a really unique set of people that they're following, and that they've really followed them in a lot of depth.
When we first conceived of the network, we went to our strengths. One of the strengths of Penn State is its mission for undergraduate education. It became very obvious at that point that we could formulate an undergraduate minor in child maltreatment and advocacy studies, or CMAS. It's based on a curriculum that is widely recognized by the Department of Human Services at the state of Pennsylvania as being some of the core skill set that they would want for entry-level child welfare jobs. When you graduate with a minor in child maltreatment and advocacy studies from Penn State, you will be recognized as having a lot of the skills that will be needed for entry-level child welfare jobs. You'll be introduced to careers in science, careers in medicine, careers in law enforcement, careers in forensic, careers in social work, careers in psychology, careers in pediatrics, careers in education that are not always obvious when you think about impacting the field of child maltreatment and how these children touch so many systems, and just making obvious the plethora of careers that one could choose if they really want to advocate for kids in this way.
Sure. The universal symbol of prevent child abuse. We're having an event tonight.
You know, science is powerful, and I love science. I love science. But one has to remember that science is the study of averages. We are beginning to understand how to pay attention to the range of experience.
These studies serve as like a Hubble telescope for the human condition. They give us a view into a universe of human functioning that we would not be able to see otherwise.
I think we're going to learn about the triumph of spirit.